Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today I have big news. Kyurem has been banned from the SSOU metagame in the closest suspect vote this generation by a large margin. Kyurem was ultimately banned with only 65.3% support. It's probably close to 66% now, as the next guy chimed in and voted ban, but lo and behold, after refresh spamming for 10 hours today and getting almost all, but not quite all of the votes, 141, 152, good turnout so far, we have ultimately come to the decision as a player base that Kyurem is ban-worthy and should be banned and removed from the SSOU metagame. 92 people voted to ban it, only 49 voted to not ban it. I know I say only 49, but truth be told, that's a lot of opposition. That's almost 35% of the people who voted. I mean, you need 60-40 support, and it took 95% of the votes almost to get to that. I think that's pretty impressive. I think it speaks a lot for how closely contested this suspect was and how both sides had a ton of valid points. Personally, I fell towards being in favor of banning Kyurem. Why? In part because of how strong it was, for sure. It has a limited pool of defensive counterplay. Things such as Volcarona are able to really handle pretty much universally, as well as Sizzler, but besides that, Blissey, sure, it does well against full special sets, so it's got to watch out for Specs and Dragon Dance set or any Icicle Spear set. Things like Kyurem, for example, can switch into Specs, but then have to watch out for Earth Power, and also getting PP stalled by sub-roost sets. Earth Power devours it, Focus Blast devours it, and then you dig deeper. Things like Specially Defensive Tyranitar can handle most sets, but Focus Blast it's not going to like, Icicle Spear set's not going to like, and on top of that, it has to be careful because Rock Blast isn't always going to be doing that much damage either. Moreover, other steel types like Metal are great at checking it one or two times, but ultimately can't outlast it very much in the long haul. Go down the list, and other things like Jirachi and Aegislash, sure, they could potentially function as one or two time checks, or maybe even counters in terms of specially defensive Jirachi, but those Pokemon aren't very effective in the metagame. And ultimately, you see that in OU, there are a lot of Pokemon that maybe can 1v1 Kyurem, but not necessarily beat it, not necessarily reliably, handle it, switch in comfortably multiple times. And when Kyurem, for something that strong, with such a burden offensively already, has such an outstanding defensive presence, letting it get into games repeatedly and often, letting it make sure that it can assert its presence on the battle, makes it so that it's able to get in, repeatedly on Slowbro, Slowking, Toxapex, all of those type of Pokemon. It really is hard to suppress it in the long term. Normally you see breakers with that offensive profile, maybe getting in 2 or 3 times safely, if even, and oftentimes that's paired with support. Or maybe you see bulkier attackers have not as much of a commanding offensive presence, but get in repeatedly so they could wear things down, and that kind of naturally balances them either way. But Kyurem has both things going for it, in that it's very strong, but also it has a respectable defensive presence, be it in terms of raw stats, or access to moves like Roost, and abilities like Pressure, which can help prolong its longevity. Prolong its presence, rather. I don't know, prolong longevity. What am I trying to say here? It's like the same thing. I'm happy with this ban, but I don't think we're done yet. For those of you who didn't know, in our recent tiering survey, we also discussed other things such as evasion abilities like Snowcloak and Sandveil. More importantly, we're actually going to be having a thread on that. I'm in the middle of drafting it right now. Spoilers! And it should go up sometime, either now or the next day. Maybe by the time this video's up, you'll see it. Maybe not, but in the next couple hours. Either way, the next topic that the SSU tiering council is going to be discussing, something that received a majority support in the survey, is going to be Sandveil and perhaps Snowcloak, perhaps Bright Powder. We'll see where the thread goes about those other evasion things, and we want to see what that has to do. I'm not saying it's going to be banned. I'm not saying it's not going to be banned. We're probably going to try and avoid a suspect just because it's just an ability, but there will be future suspects. I don't know if it'll be now or in a couple weeks or in a couple months, but we're going to keep our eyes open on the metagame. There are obviously a lot of things worth discussing. Right now, I don't think any individual Pokemon is suspect-worthy, but you can argue. I get it if you argue for things like Heatran or Weavile in the metagame. I get it. There are a lot of strong presences, but I don't think anything is too overbearing at the moment. Let me know what you think of that down below in the comments. I've heard plenty of people talk about Dragapult, Tapu Lele, Toxapex, Metal, all those Pokemon, and I'd love hearing what you guys have to say. So, fill me in on what you guys are thinking and what you think of the Kyurem suspects. For me, I'm happy Kyurem is gone. I believe it was problematic in the metagame. All the jokes aside with me getting 6-0'd in that one battle, I thought this before the battle, and I made it known. I thought it after the battle, I made it known. Didn't really have much correlation, but I guess I'm going to be a little relieved that my every single time logging in public is not going to be mocked about this anymore now that it's done with, I'm not the only one who voted ban on this. 91 out of 140 other people voted ban. and that's for good reason. Kyurem is a very strong, restrictive presence in the metagame, and quite frankly, I'm very glad it's gone. It's going to open up team building a ton. Now we're going to see a wider variety of steel types. Things like Heat Animal Metal are going to get even better, but also counters to them that maybe weren't as good against things like Kyurem are likely going to see more and more usage. Things like Garchomp, for example, obviously wasn't going to do very well against Kyurem's ice attacks, but now it's more present as a potential check to things like Heatran. And now you're not necessarily limited to Scizor a ton on those teams either, as something like a check to Tapu Lele. So maybe we'll see more Slowking, or maybe we'll see more cores dedicated towards checking Tapu Lele, which arguably has been getting a little out of hand itself lately. There's a ton of extensions, there's a ton of rippling effects. For when one domino falls, all of a sudden, everything else is going to change in the metagame a little bit, incrementally, one step at a time, and it's going to be very interesting to see what those ripple effects on our metagame are. In the meantime, I just want to say, guys, I know I've been uploading a ton lately, and I'm not sure that's going to change a ton. This weekend, on Saturday, I'm actually meeting some friends from Smogon. I'm not going to say who or where or when or what. That's not anyone's business, but we're looking forward to catching up with some friendly faces. And on Sunday is the Smogon Premier League Draft, so I'm very excited for the biggest and best competitive Pokemon tournament of the year to be starting up again around New Year's. And then right after that, I got to work on the Power Rankings article for that. Very exciting about that. A lot of fun stuff right around the corner. I'll try and get you guys some stuff. I mean, the BDSP Laudio stuff that just ended, so maybe I'll try and do a video on that. I kind of want to do some Pokemon theory videos, like, what things mean in terms of, like, metagames and how we draw the conclusions we do, and sort of going philosophical on you guys, like, how sometimes bending an offensive Pokemon doesn't necessarily make offense worse or stall better, because sometimes offensive Pokemon force stall. Stuff that's kind of theoretical like that I think a lot of people maybe draw linear conclusions on. I.e., banning Kyurem maybe actually makes offense better, because offense previously was really limited to things like Volcarona and Scizor. Unlike every single hyper offensive team, you had to have one of these Pokemon. Otherwise, Kyurem was just going to eat you up every single time it got in safely, and Kyurem wasn't super weak to priority. It wasn't getting one-shotted by a lot of things, so it was actually, like, very possible to happen. So you're forced to use things like Blissey, or especially defensive Scizor, or Jirachi, or Roost Volcarona even. Both your Pokemon, you're forced to use things like AV Melmetal, and you're forced to use things like specially defensive Wish Clefable, and so on and so forth. Things that don't really gel on hyper offense on offensive teams. And since you kind of force that bulky initiative with things again like Blissey, and Blissey obviously means you're using balance or stall. Moreover, with that burden no longer there, with that restriction no longer there, you actually have more room to use offensive Pokemon. Even on balanced teams, you're not forced to such a limited pool, and that means you could use more bulky offensive options. That means you could use more offensive options, or a wider array of defensive options, which suddenly unlock different types of cores, and all of a sudden, everything is more wide open. While we did take a Pokemon out of the metagame, there's a wider pool of viable Pokemon as a response to that. I think that cause and effect relationship is the sign of a heavily restricted Pokemon being removed. And while I haven't played much in the post-Kyurem metagame, and I can't say, oh my god, it's hands down better, just from a team building perspective, looking at the builder and playing around with that, you could tell things are more opened up. You feel things loosening up a little bit, and I absolutely love that. I'm really happy with that, and I think this generation we've tackled things heads on. We've been very transparent and communicative with you guys. I've told you everything I possibly could on this YouTube channel, honestly, more than anyone else has tried to communicate. And also on the forums, and I'm always open to questions. If you guys ever want to talk to me, message me on Smogon. PMs are always open. Same for Discord. I'm always there to help you guys. But again, Kyurem is now banned from the SSOU metagame. It's received 65.2% support. Could end up at 66, 67, depending on the remaining 11 voters. But regardless, thank you so much to everyone who voted. 150 of you guys over that got Rex. It's amazing. It's amazing to see that. And I just want to say thank you. I hope that we all participate in the suspect process in the future, be it via posting in the metagame discussion thread, via messaging me, or other cheerleader swapper in the council about things that you feel, through participating in the surveys that come out every month or two, or just playing the metagame and sharing your thoughts wherever you can. We're all working this together to find the most fun, competitive tier possible, and I think we've taken a lot of strides this generation, especially when compared to the last couple. We have a more open, transparent process. We're involving the public more and more. It's not just the same guy sitting in a circle in a Discord chat making the decisions alone. And it's really cool that I've been able to streamline this process and really act as the middleman between maybe a council full of opinions and a community full of opinions. and the surveys have gone a long way towards it. In the end of the day, Kyurem had support via the survey, so we're acting on it. Just like prior suspects, and just like Sandvale and Snowcloak, Kyurem had support via the survey. Sandvale and Snowcloak have support via the survey, so we'll act on it. We'll find the best solutions for the community, and the community providing us with the solutions is huge. So I'm just loving that we have this groundwork in place. I'm really confident and happy with where we are. I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for making this all possible, and investing your trust in me as the tier leader. I hope you guys all have a great day, good week. I know it's getting cold by my American friends right now in the winter time. Remember to stay warm, stay safe. All you guys, watching out for you, and wherever you are. If you guys have any questions, just let me know again, really. Glad to help. Alright guys, bye.